to ATM Blowout. And of course, you can see that I'm not seated here alone today. My name, you already know, but we'll get you to meet this gentleman who is sitting right beside me. How are you today?
Good morning.
And now, you already know what Blowout is, which is a syndicated live program of the network where we hold conversation on special interest topics, bringing news, events, and stories through correspondent reports. And of course, not forgetting the expert opinions and stakeholders analysis. So first point of call today is on Amicus chat, and on Amicus chat today, we are not aware of levy imposed by cultists. This is coming from the River State Police.
Airstrikes destroy over 30 illegal oil refining sites. Bayelsa State Gober, IIC, IYC caution politicians to avoid violence.
And on governance, life pensions for former governors serving as ministers is unconstitutional. This is coming from Serap.
Enugu State gunmen abduct full-loaded bus passengers driver.
And in Osun State, Governor Adeleke suspect foul play with aircraft on their crash.
Traders write AGF over IGP's disobedience to court orders.
And looking at corporate structure, NNPCL retires vice president before due date, appoints replacements. Our resource person on the show this morning is Honorable Ernest T. Roland Douglas. He's that this morning as he's an oil and gas expert, but he's here this morning as a socio-political analyst. We'll take a short break, everyone. When we come back, we'll go straight into Amcos chat. Stay with us. Anchor's Chat, everyone. And then, like I said, I have my colleague here, Marcella, who will win the show with me. So, but let's get on with Anchor's Chat, and of course, you get to hear from him again. So, River State Police says the command is not aware of any levy imposed in any community in the Ahoda West local government area by the suspected cultists. This is following an alarm raised by a stakeholder in Ahoda West alleging that suspected cultists were demanding 10 million naira security levy in some communities in the area. The police spokesperson Grace Ringekoko on Sunday said, for now, the command is not aware of any levy on any community in Ahoda or any other community in River State. If there is such a situation, we expect the people or stakeholders in the area to make an official report in the Ahoda division. They can come to the command headquarters to come and report the situation, because if they don't report, how will the police know what they claim is happening? She assured that the command is working around the clock to read communities in River State of criminal elements and ensure that suspected criminals are apprehended. And now the stakeholder, while speaking to newsmen anonymously over the situation in Port Harcourt for fear of being traced, said, the very day that they killed the DPO, the gangs in Ahoda West started sending messages to various communities to pay 10 million naira before the end of the month, or else they will come and raise down the entire community. He said the communities are now paying 100,000 for survival, and it is not good. The anonymous person, the community member, said there is even a report that the two Baba, that's Gift David, that they are chasing, has left Ahoda East and is now in Ahoda West. Palliative that were brought to us, they moved it and sent to these boys in their various hideouts. When we say we want to fight insecurity, the government should be sincere about it. He also said the state government, Nigeria Police, and other relevant security agencies should come to Ahoda West and comb the area. Tubaba is in Ahoda West, so they should stop looking far when the boy is close. He is in Ahoda West. He is no longer in Ahoda East. They should focus their searchlight on Ahoda West and help us. There was a time when the late Baku Anbashim came to Ahoda West and raided some communities. He arrested some of these boys. Immediately, they sent messages across to him that Ahoda West was not his jurisdiction, that he should not come there. All right. Now, this is an eyewitness, a community member, telling a story on what exactly happened and how the situation is, clearly with no ambiguity. But interestingly, if you notice, the police PPRO said that they are not aware. That there's no way the police will be aware if they don't report to them. But interestingly, this eyewitness said, this anonymous speaker said that DPO and Bashim did arrest some of these boys at some point. So when you say you're not aware, is it that you're not aware that that some of these communities are being levied? And now, if there is an anonymous person who is able to give a detailed account of what had transpired and how it transpired after the murder of DPO and Bashim, these people came back and then they're now asking each community to give them 10 million naira. At this point, as we speak, that they are paying 100,000 naira. Okay, I don't know what business these people do in this community to be able to raise this money in this time. He also complained that their, what is it called now, their palliative has been cutting away and given to them boys. The question then is, are all of this information enough for the police to step in and actually investigate? When someone said they sent messages, I'm sure they should have these messages in their phone. Now, if they actually pass a message from person to person to say this is what they want to do, I'm sure that message was passed to someone. And if you look at all of this side by side and ask yourself, what then is the reason why the police have not stepped in to do the needful? Your guess is as good as mine. Are we looking at a situation where these people actually end up making do their threat of, destroying the society and chasing people away and all of that? I mean, we have had such stories in the Northeast, and of course, that became a major issue. Now, these guys have been addressed as terrorists and cultists and what have you. If all of these factors are anything to go by, what exactly is the police waiting for? It's been over a week since DPO and Bashim passed on. We are hoping that, somehow, somewhere, someone can stand up and do the needful. But unfortunately, that seemed not to be the case. But again, who knows? Maybe some miracle, some magic may just happen. Bestseller.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's quite a pathetic situation. The stories around the whole incident begs for serious questioning. And one also wonders why the indigene of this community seems to have more information exactly where the gift David, the two Baba himself, the head of the gang, is. Because this time around, the police would want to be extremely sure of what they're doing. You can't be saying that he's in Ahoda East, now he's in Ahoda West, and all of that seems to be some sort of confusion. So, well, the police at this moment should be proactive and step in to save the communities. Because, like you said, what business, what kind of work are they actually doing to be able to raise 100,000 naira? It's really disturbing.
All right. There's no doubt that it's disturbing, and of course, we keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. I mean, that's much we can do. Hope that, like I said, there will be some miracle, some magic at some points that will happen. But if that doesn't happen, I don't even know what will become of that community. The DPO had a running battle with them for quite some time. And all of this just coming out after he's been murdered. Over the weekend, if you remember, they sent a video, a clip, they made a clip basically saying, kind of, catch us if you can.
Yes,
Here we are,
yes.
catch us if you
and
can.
And they're ready for combat.
Exactly. So the question then is, if these guys are daring, they were brandishing their weapons and all of that, if they're that daring to say, hey, this is where all of this is right now, one begins to wonder, what exactly will become of this community if the police does not step in right now to do the needful.
Exactly.
This is a major cause of concern because I heard that have been in the news for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there seem not to be a meeting point yet. Remember during the campaigns? Yeah. Remember during the campaigns, Penyako's campaign manager was also brutally abducted in the broad daylight.
Yes.
Murdered and dumped in just like this, murdered and dumped. So these stories are scary. If these guys can be this audacious, can we begin to ask them, what exactly do you want?
Well...
Or, because if it's looking like the police may not really have all it takes to step in and do the needful, can we now begin to ask them, those who know them, because we are more worried for the vulnerable in society,
Absolutely.
The women and the children. Of course, the men too are human beings, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But if you look at the data analysis of those who end up being vulnerable in situations like this, are usually the women and the children.
Mm-hmm.
The concern is, let's not get to the point where we're not beginning to see another knot is playing out before us. And again, it becomes another story where people become IDs running away from their own. So I don't know. It's a major cause for concern, honestly.
We'll get through it. We'll get through it.
Keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best, that some good news begin to come in as soon as possible. But that's been Anchor's Chats, and then we'll come back. When we come back, we're still in Rivers State because there's some news about airstrike that has destroyed over 30 illegal oil mining sites and several other stories that will be bringing to you today. Stay with us.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders.
Welcome back to ATN Blowout. And right about now, we are starting off with the news of airstrike that destroyed over 30 illegal oil refining sites in Rivers State. But before we do that, I'd like to quickly welcome our guest on the show this morning, Ambassador NS Roland T. Douglas. Good to have you on ATN Blowout, sir.
Good morning and thank you, viewers.
Now, let's get on with the conversation, everyone. Airstrike from the air components of Operation Delta Safe have destroyed no fewer than 30 active oil refining sites in Cawthorne Channel and Bile in Degema local government area of Rivers State. Also, storage tanks, reservoirs, and cotton boats suspected to be siphoning crude oil from a flow station were destroyed in the operations. Air Force spokesperson Air Commodore Edward Capquet, in a statement on Sunday, said airstrikes conducted on Cawthorne Channel and Bide, located in Degema local government area of Rivers State, proved successful as 7 illegal refining sites were identified and destroyed. He also said in Cawthorne Channel, 4 active illegal refining sites with dug out reservoirs and surface storage tanks suspected to be containing illegal refined products were cited on 15 September 2023. Subsequently, the sites were destroyed, while similar airstrike was also conducted at Gili on 16 September 2023 and in the early hours of 17 September 2023, while 3 illegal oil refining sites with storage tanks and reservoirs were destroyed. In one of the sites, a Cotonou boat suspected to be siphoning crude oil from a flow station was engaged in several passes and destroyed. Air Commodore Edward Capquet also said in the last 2 months, Cawthorne Channel and Bile have accounted for the majority of oil theft and illegal oil refining activities in Rivers State, and within the period, over 30 illegal oil refining sites in these locations have been destroyed by the land, maritime, and air components of Operation Delta Safe. All right, good to know, good to have you again, because I mean, you're an oil and gas expert as well, Ambassador. So, again, I have got that same question. When we talk about the idea of destroying sites, refining sites, one of the things that hits me hard in my heart is the environment. While we're doing this, how much impact, negative impact this has on environment, and for a region that has been clamoring for remediation over oil spillage and what have you, seeing our fight for oil thefts leading us to create more devastation for the same environment, or struggling to see how we can sustain it in natural form. I don't know what you can make out of this. You're the experts. I just like you to bring here, give us a better idea of what we're looking at, because this consistent destroying of these things that goes back to the earth is a major cause for concern. But I'd like to bring you in here.
Yeah, I mean, this is like having mosquitoes and then using sledgehammer to go and try killing the mosquitoes. The people are doing the wrong thing, yes, we know. And if we have to follow the antecedent of the former vice president, who said they are going to be organized as a team and discuss with the experts in the environment and also the experts in the NMPC on how best to legalize these activities. And that's apparently haven't worked out. And of course, this issue of the Air Force people blowing up the areas, which was what the Navy was doing in the past, and we raised a lot of concerns regarding the environment. It's, you know, it's rather unfortunate, because what we're doing is that we're creating a humongous environmental challenges for those that are there, and which, of course, may probably extend also to the next set of generations that are going to come in, having cancer, having deformed children, and as well as having both the fauna and the flora all completely devastated. And this cannot be overemphasized. We know what the people are doing out there are also not helping the environment, but we are making it worse. And so, you know, one is appealing to the conscience of the military that are doing this bombing, so to say, that we have storage facilities in the asset companies, be it Chevron, be it RG, be it Shell, wherever these activities are going on, they have facilities. These crudes can be confiscated and returned back for their processing, and as well use that as evidence to prosecute these people that are being caught. this going outrightly to destroy these things out there, it's not helping us at all. Because we're talking about the environmental. The UNEP report on Ogoni has not even settled down. And we're generating another set of environmental impacts. It's not as devastating as some of what these people are doing. Because when you blow up an area, it's a whole lot of containment challenge. And so 2 wrongs cannot make it right. We have these people who the government know that the refineries are not working. And if these people in their crude methods can produce some of these products that are required, sit down and have a discussion with them, engage them. Let's have a discussion where they can truly put their expertise skills into a much more safe and a better way of producing these so-called profile products. These guys have been able to demonstrate that we don't need to have all these humongous certificates to function in the refinery. They've demonstrated it over and over. And the former vice president, Professor Sibanjo, has also come and accepted the fact that, look, this is the way to go. Let's engage these young men out there. And then let them now begin to do what is right and pay taxes to the government. Until we this approach, we are going to continue to have environmental issues that are going to take decades to mitigate upon. And so I'm appealing to the military hierarchy. I'm also appealing to the president, who is the Minister of Petroleum right now. So please adopt a better approach that is environmentally safe to handle these issues, these challenges that we're having right now. Because this is a different issue that we may not be able to handle. Because 1, we're talking about the loss of this product. 2, we're talking about the environmental issue. Then 3, we're talking about the health hazards that are going to be impacted both on those that are within the closed communities and those completely outside of those communities. That's my appeal. Enough of this continuous devastation of our environment.
Okay, Ambassador, I really appreciate your reaction to this. But, this looks more like a web than a set of steps. The situation is really disturbing. When we anchored this show and we try to address issues like this, we hope that the necessary individuals or authorities would listen in and do what the needful requires. But my concern at this moment is how do we, what are the itineraries that you think could be put in place to get these boys, to want to commit to working together with the government? How possible can this be, sir?
I mean, it's not a rocket science. We've had in the past where the NMPC, the asset owners, and the security have formed some kind of committees where they should invite them and sit down and say, look, listen, there are no jobs. Now, these people are creating jobs for themselves. Okay? Now, how do we legitimize what is ongoing? These things can be done. It's because at the end of the day, we're still going to get down to the table to discuss. Because this cat and mouse game that is being played out there is the same thing that is being played in the solid mineral area, where people are mining, and some of the byproducts of the mining are contaminating the water, and a lot of people are having all kinds of environmental diseases. So we just have to sit back, review this approach, and get ourselves together. Identify some of these young men that are involved in this. Because they are not also doing it alone, you should know. They have sponsors who are also within the government, and they have sponsors also externally. But we can come together and have a much workable way to support the refineries that are down and the challenges of energy and power that is bedeviling us. And then the loss of these products, which if you look at the current price now of about $84 per barrel, it's a humongous waste. So in every situation, it's a lose-lose scenario. We need to come together and sit down and discuss this. There's no other options right now that we have. And that's my advice to the military hierarchy and also to the president, who is also the Minister of Petroleum.
Now, when it comes to the environmental impact or the health impact of this, like I've said on the show severally, maybe people should also take a trip to University of Port Teaching Hospital and some of the teaching hospitals or hospitals around Rivers State to understand how much of the skin cancer issues that seem to be going on around there. Of course, respiratory issues as well. But if we're looking at the environmental impact, you talked about Ogoni, how Ogoni's situation right now is neither here nor there. Of course, the remediation process is going on. If you look at the UNEP reports and the impacts of that, and the Center of Excellence, I just noticed over the weekend that it's now finally being cited. All of this put together and the impact this have on Niger Delta environment, the mangrove particularly, I'd like you to shed some light on this aspect.
Okay, yesterday I was privileged to go to Bacana on a boat ride.
Where's Bacana?
Bacana, it's about 45 minutes out from the Kidney Island axis.
Port Harcourt?
No, it's outside, it's the outskirts of Port Harcourt.
Okay.
And then, of course, along the creeks, we noticed some of these boats, you know, whether they're legal or not, but we noticed some of them. They are going to be into it because that apparently seems to be the only option. And then you now notice by the size of the mangroves, you know, leftover oil shins. Okay? The water goes down at a particular period, and after a while, it gets back again. Where is it going to? And we are thinking that it's only going to be the Niger Delta. No, but that's a mistake, because the flooding that is coming in is going to evacuate these things to other areas, whether we like it or not. And so when I look at the mangroves, and I see some of them standing and turning brown rather than being greenish, which is the original platform, I feel sad, because it's a combination of these young men activities and also these military strikes. And in both sides, it's a no-win situation. Now, of course, now we're no longer talking about fishes anymore. And then we're no longer even talking about breathing in fresh air within those scenarios. I took a look at it, even have some snapshots of it, and I just said to myself, wow, this is not going to be the best approach to tackle this menace of bunkering activities. It's definitely not going to be the best approach. Take a boat ride from the Kidney Island, where Shell used to be, all down to the axis of Tombia, the axis of these areas where they also have oil activities, including the warfare that is not too far away from us. And you'd be amazed the level of devastation. I'm not holding brief for those who are doing this legal thing, because apparently it seems to be the only option they have, because they have no job. That's not justified. But what we are saying is that there are better approaches. We've got a lot of technology. Declare them with drones, go pick them up, then send these things back to the facilities where these assets are being tampered with. So in that case, economically, you're saving a humongous amount of money, and then you're also saving the environment and the health of the people within these assets, who in most cases have no business with what is going on. And so we need to have a paradigm shift of this approach. It can never be overemphasized.
All right, thank you very much. Let's get on with another conversation real quick. Major Youth Council worldwide has cautioned politicians to avoid violence, as they will be held responsible for any loss of life ahead of the November 11 governorship election in Bayelsa State. The council, in a communique issued on Sunday by its president, Dr. Alaye Theophilus, cautioned politicians against hate speech and any acts that could escalate tensions in the state, adding that the Bayelsa State election looms on the horizon and has issued a stern caution to political actors and gladiators against any acts that could escalate tensions in the state. The IYC said it will not fold its arms to see that the existing peace enjoyed in the state is damaged, and advise all politicians to shun hate speech and focus on telling them their manifestos. The council also called on the federal government to immediately reevaluate and expedite the establishment of modular refineries across the Niger Delta region, and equally implored the government to expedite action in ensuring that the Port Harcourt refinery commences operations by December as promised. The IYC further called on the federal government to initiate comprehensive coastline dredging along riverine communities whose landscape design is seated below sea level. All right, let's take the first part of the conversation, and then we'll come back to the second part, which has to do with the conversation we just finished having, because that part seemed to be a bit interesting there. But let's talk about the Bayelsa gubernatorial election that is coming for the IYC, saying they are not going to tolerate any form of violence. Does IYC have the power to stop any form of violence in Bayelsa State, considering that Silva is not finding some things funny? Some people who some of his supporters just left in droves, according to news report. And then here he's making all kinds of accusations, how he's harboring someone who's there to finish serving his prison terms and all of that. So do you see the Bayelsa election being peaceful? And if it's not going to be peaceful, you see IYC being able to do anything to quell any form of violence in the state?
Well, IYC, they are critical stakeholders in the Niger Delta region. And they constitute, through the demography, 70% of the voting population. And so, yes, they have some influence. You know, my problem is that we've had these peace documents being signed, peace meetings being done in the past. And politicians, for being desperate to be in power, will always renege. But I think the IYC is good they are now coming up, because it's the youth that constitute that body, and it's the youth that are usually being put into this kind of violent actions that we find during elections. And so as critical stakeholders, yes, it's, you know, the caution is very apt at this period, because we are talking about less than a month plus where this election is going to hold. But my worry is that the signals that are coming out from there, I mean, we just had the community of Punembe. It was a lot more out of political than you know, culture-related issue in that axis. And I'm worried also that it doesn't engulf the entire Bayelsa, because we have two political parties that are bent on not respecting the electoral laws and also our constitution as well. And so when you find these people who have been recycled over and over coming out again, this definitely is not going to be peaceful. And then, of course, when we look at the outcomes of all the tribunals, there seems to be, you know, an unwritten encouragement that, look, you guys can go whichever means, and you come out if at the end of the day, probably you had more guns to snatch ballot boxes and whatever. You know, you seem to be carrying out the day. I mean, that's the unwritten signals that are coming out from the tribunals, because we've had issues about violence, people died, things destroyed, ballot boxes snatched, and there were no consequences. And those people are, you know, they are walking into the offices. And so what we are seeing is going to definitely play out, not only in Bayelsa, but also in Kogi State, and as well as Imo State. Of course, Imo State is also sharing similar situations where there are claims and counter-claims of violence, you know, taking places. So, yes, the youth constitute the majority of voting population, and I'm sure they are going to also have a say, you know, as to what it's going to be.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. You know, the youth is definitely a very strong component in every country, and then also in governance, in politics. And here we have the IYC giving a very commendable advice to politicians. You know, talking about the hate speech and let them, you know, be more concerned about their manifestos. You know, it's very important that we look into that area. I feel that you have something to say about this, so that it's clearer what these politicians should definitely pay attention more to.
Look, when we don't have consequences for malfeasance, we are not going to have a change in the narratives. I mean, you and I witnessed the 2023 general elections, and we saw what happened in various states all over the country. And, well, apart from the voter apathy that is going to play out in these three, off-season elections in the three states, I see a situation where violence is not going to be ruled off. They have beautiful manifestos, but internally, among themselves, how have the political parties, how have they been able to conduct their primary election to select those who are going to represent them? That already has an issue. And so it's spilling out also to the populace, where people are being imposed. And so when people are imposed, there's bound to be conflict. So manifesto does not mean anything to the politicians that we have currently. And they don't also expect the rule of law. Otherwise, if INEC, can rejig back the trust deficit they have right now and follow the guidelines they are going to put across, to a large extent, because technology is coming to play, it will reduce this desperation, to seize ballot boxes, desperation to go kill people and all that. But here we have a situation, we have a very big quagmire where the empire, so-called empire, cannot even keep to his own guidelines. And then the political parties themselves, their primaries cannot even also obey and keep to their own guidelines. And then you're talking about the civil populace who are practically helpless, now being sandwiched with the fact that, this political party probably have a better manifesto. Oh, we all know manifestos don't really, it's just for the formalities. But basically what we're asking is that let the selection process be fair, both from the political parties, and then let those who are going to conduct it, the INEC themselves, also be fair and apply the guidelines. And then if we can guarantee that, then we are going to reduce drastically whatever violence that that is being anticipated. But I can tell you for sure that with the fallout of all these 25th February election and March elections, I'm not being a pessimist, but I don't think we're going to see any much difference from the narrative that we are being exposed to.
Okay, another part of the conversation they brought out here is their request for the federal government to ensure that what I talked about modular refineries coming into play, which is part of what we talked about earlier, and also the need for federal government to ensure that Port Harcourt refinery comes into play by December as promised. Again, how realistic is that?
Let's make reference to Dangote refinery. It was on this same studio I told you, I said in the next 2 years, Dangote is not going to kick run. The refineries we are talking about, we've spent humongous amounts of money on turnaround maintenance. I mean, I would have rather advised the petroleum minister, who is the president, and the junior minister of petroleum, to refocus on the artisanal refineries. Because there, we are seeing it. They are using the crude method, but we're seeing the results of what they do there. And if you go to most of the filling stations, those are some of the products that are being sold. We can't deny the fact. We can't be on self-denial. So for me, the Port Harcourt refinery, I have a question mark. I have a question mark in the sense that, this is not the first time we've been told by the immediate past administration that it was going to come up in March. Later it was July. Now we are here in December, and I can bet you it's not going to come out. But if you tell me that those artisanal refineries that are already ongoing, that those people, if they're being challenged and also being organized and given a tax as to what kind of tax to pay, then I can think along that. But even the artisanal we're talking about, this has been on the front burner for over 2 years now. And so all we have is just the mere talk and the mere the impression that work is ongoing.
So you don't think that Port Harcourt refinery?
I don't think in December it's not going to come in December. Let's be honest to ourselves.
Don't think the president has a magic wand to make that happen. What if he decides to surprise us?
Well, you and I are here, and the Nigerians that are going through the hardship are also there. But I can tell you, because of the trust deficit, that was just probably a kite that was being flown to checkmate the National Labour Congress and the various unions that are within the oil and gas industry. We've gotten a decayed infrastructure, and then we've gotten massive corruption in not doing what is proper. And none of those people have been brought to book. So this thing is going to be the same process, the same running around like a headless chicken. No result.
All right. Thank you. Let's talk about nation, everyone. Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria laments that the hike in school fees across the country makes it difficult for children of the poor to continue their education across Nigeria. The Catholic bishops made this known through a communique issued at the end of the second plenary meeting held in Abuja and signed by the President, Archbishop Lucius Ugoji, and Secretary Bishop Donatus Ogun. The communique, which was made available to journalists in Ado Ekiti State capital by Bishop Felix Ajakaye, Bishop of Ekiti Diocese, titled Religion, Civic Responsibility and the Building of a Better Nigeria, said, we consider the resort to palliative measures as a treatment of a symptom rather than the cure of the disease. We called on government at all levels to provide the enabling environment for the creation of more jobs for the teeming unemployed youths in Nigeria. They said government should put in place measures that will curb the persistent theft of oil and other minerals. We enjoin the government to radically review programs aimed at alleviating the suffering of the youths. We equally advise the youth not to resort to violence and crime as a substitute for hard work. Reject the ever-increasing scandalous comfort and remuneration of elected leaders to the detriment of the poor. We therefore demand that the government cut the increasing cost of running government in our country and that the money saved be used to provide essential amenities and services. The conversation around cutting the cost for governance in Nigeria. When Tinubu was coming into power, a lot of us expected that we should have been out for, since that President Buhari couldn't manage that properly. But somehow, that seemed not to be the case. We have about 40, we're going to have about 48 ministers at the end of the day, because he even created more ministry. And of course, the money we learned that was also given to the National Assembly and all of that. When people are hoping that through him something can be done to cut down assembly operations or something to enable to ensure that Nigerians see that their leaders are also feeling the impact. But here we are. But the bishops are insistent on cutting down the cost of governance and reinvesting the money in education and ensuring that children can actually go to school and several more. Is that feasible?
I don't see that being feasible. I mean, the facts are there. You have a society where you have a challenge, which is the refinery. You have a situation where subsidy, according to them, has been taken off and such humongous amount of money in trillions were saved. And then we are now talking about palliatives. We are now talking about student loan. We Nigerians, I don't know why our leaders, especially when they're on the other side of the opposition, they will criticize, come up with all these, very beautiful policies that they can apply to make our lives better. But when they get in there, they seem to have some kind of amnesia, or they seem to have some kind of, negative virus on identifying the challenges that we have and providing solutions to them. Why should we be talking about higher education at this period when we know that businesses are crumbling, a lot of people are going, jobless, and then you expect the parents to talk about high fees? So we are, gradually crumpling our educational system. That's what I'm saying. Because maybe the few who can afford going to Ghana, going to the overseas countries, probably think that that's enough for them to adopt in a situation where we've gotten the resources, but wrongly channeled. We have enough resources to take care of our education, to take care of also our health system. But you can see, it's been, applied in areas that have no relevance. Cost of governance has been a regular song, both in the previous administration and also when they were coming in. Why do you need, first you need a minister, then you need a personal assistant, then you need a personal assistant, then you need a senior assistant, then you need, what is this? These are unproductive people. We're talking about agriculture where we need to rechannel our energies. We're talking about productive ventures. But you keep having, in a 36 state, you're having 48 ministers. When I was thinking that, some of these ministers, these portfolios will have been merged based on what Oresanya, proposed, and everybody was saying, fantastic idea. Rather, we are, creating more avenues. And I recently, I don't know how confirmed it is, that even National Road are creating portfolios for those who will be chef and all kinds of things. I mean, we don't need this. Cut down the cost by 40% across the board, be it on the judiciary, be it on the legislatures and the executive themselves. There's one of the governors in the north there that, that has set a precedent. Himself and his political appointees, and one of the governors in the north, just a couple of days back, has cut down the governance by 50%. Why can't we adopt the same thing at the national level? Because if we don't go out on the streets and feel the pulse of what the Nigerian citizens are going through, and then we keep relying on the few sycophants that are singing their praises, we'll continue to be in this same mess. So education is being threatened right now because apparently it's becoming almost obvious that a lot of people are going to be out of school. We've got millions already out of school, and so a lot more are going to be out of school. So the ball is in their court. Let them decide which way, if they can cope with the conflict that is going to be similar to the Boko Harams and whatever that are now becoming, a very ideal locations for most of these hands that we're going to chase out of schools to go and engage in. That's my take on it.
But that's good. Once again, sir. For me, I'm coming from the angle that concerns the advising the president. We have special advisors, and we expect that they bring to the table advices that should help the president or who they report to do things that would definitely bring the right feedback. In other words, people are very happy and they can attest to the fact that these things are working. So when we talk about palliatives, I tend to wonder, and I begin to wonder, and it gives serious concern. You can see how it has led to the hike in school fees. Now we begin to wonder, what exactly are these advisors, doing? How did they come about these palliatives? Because the hike in fuel pump price is not really helping matters, and now we're coming about with the palliatives. I mean, juxtaposing the two of them, how do we reconcile the fact that these can help?
The question you should ask is that even some of these policies, are they sustainable? Now you're talking about palliatives. What is palliative? Like I told you over the weekend when I went there, people are developing low, medium, and high BP just because of 3 cups of rice. Why would I pay a boat transport fare of 1,000 naira to a town just to go and share 3 cups and pay 1,000 naira again to come back? I mean, in every situation, we seem to be applying the wrong approach. Like I said, when they were on the other side of the opposition, they seem to have all these fantastic ideas. And I thought that with the immediate past administration, inept failure, yes, they are still the same APC, that probably lessons would have been learned, and then we will have adopted a better approach to the challenges that has been there with us in the past 8 years plus. Palliatives is not a sustainable thing, number one, and it's also not necessary because Nigerians are hardworking people who all they need is give them steady electricity, reduce the taxes on them, and they will go ahead and produce and survive. But all the key indices of economics are becoming, unsustainable. And then you expect them to get 2 cups of rice for probably for a day, and then that is over. While these monies can be channeled into the proper productive sectors, the agriculture and also the manufacturing sectors. And this will naturally, escalate to millions of Nigerians that are there waiting. We've got a lot of farmers who can't go to the farm because of insecurity. And we've got quite a lot of people, that are willing to go also into the manufacturing sector. But because of electricity, they can't. So we know where these problems are. These so-called people you're calling advisors or whatever, they're all hangers-ons.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We'll take a short break, everyone. When we come back, we are going to be talking about Sarah's position on the former governors who are serving ministers and are still receiving, who are receiving life pension from their states, perhaps says it's unconstitutional. Have all of that conversation after the break. And welcome back to ATM Blowout, Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, the Federal High Court suits the Federal High Court, the federal government at the Federal High Court in Lagos, demanding that the court direct President Bola Tinubu to instruct former governors who are now serving as ministers in his administration to stop receiving life pensions and other retirement benefits from their states. Set up in the suit, which is yet to be assigned to a judge, seeking an order and the most compelling President to instruct the former governors to return forthwith any pensions and retirement benefits collected by them since leaving office to the public treasury. Civil society is also asking the court for a declaration that the failure by President Tinubu to publicly instruct the former governors to stop collecting life pensions, exotic cars, and other retirement benefits from their state while serving as ministers is a violation of his constitutional oath of office. The ministers listed in the suit are Badaru Abubakar, Yesom Wike, Felamatuwale, Adeboyinka Oyetola, David Mahi, Simon Lalong, Atiku Bagudu, and Ibrahim Gaidam. In an affidavit attached to the suit, Serap argued that appointment of former governors who collect life pensions while serving as ministers is implicitly forbidden by the 1999 Constitution and the country's international legal obligation. It listed states currently implementing life pension and other retirement benefits for former governors reportedly to include Jigawa, Kebbi State, Ebonyi, Yobe, and Rivers. Many of these states owe workers' salaries and remain the poorest in the country. Serap stated that several pension laws in this state include provisions for 6 cars every 3 years, a house in Lagos worth 70 million naira, and another in Abuja worth 1 billion naira, unrestricted access to medical attention, and pensionable cooks, stewards, and gardeners. While in President Tinubu's inaugural speech as president, he promised that his administration will be guided by the principles of the rule of law, a shared sense of fairness and equity, and that Nigeria will actually govern according to the Constitution. Life pensions for former governors, Serap said, serving as ministers are entirely inconsistent and incompatible with the Nigerian Constitution and the country's obligations under the UN Convention Against Corruption. Now, I wonder why Serap is picking out the ministers alone. And here is what I'm asking. President Tinubu has been on life pension. We don't even know. In fact, some quarters when he came into the office as president said that he needs to actually drop that pension that he's been receiving alongside open free access to unrestricted health care to his family since he left office. Yeah? And now, Godswill Akpabio, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, this now former governor of Akwa Ibom State, now Senate president, is on that list. And several governors who are in National Assembly, right, former governors who are in the National Assembly right now are on this line. So picking out ministers serving under Tinubu over this issue of life pension and going to court about it, are we going to make headway if you don't mind?
Well, they are appointed. They were not elected. And so because they are appointed, he has the obligation to advise them on this issue that has been raised by Serap. But here is the scenario. These governors are not civil servants. I don't know where this pension thing is coming from. And it is, as a matter of fact, not also reflected in our constitution, except they want to amend it now. And so it's an issue that has been in the front burner amongst a lot of these governors that have gone back either as House of Reps members or senators, that you can't have such pension allowances and be earning salaries again and allowances in your current status. Even if it's not constitutional, morally. And then in addition to that, looking at the hardship in the various states of this country where salaries are not being paid, why would we, in conscience, want to be earning the salaries and allowances of our current status, either as ministers or appointed special advisors or legislators? And as well as having that, it's morally, we should question ourselves. Why would we need to do that? Why should we wait until, a civil society should now take it up and, go into judicial interpretation of what is really ongoing? We've lost empathy, we've lost conscience amongst our set of politicians that we have. You can be, in positions of authority, both appointed and elected, and still want to retain in a situation where the country's economy is in a very bad shape, in a situation where a lot of these states can barely pay their workers, where a lot of these states don't even talk about bursary or scholarships. And then you alone and your family are going to be carrying this amount of money, for crying out loud. Let even if not the judiciary alone, then morally, they ask themselves. I understand one of the senators, I'll call his name, Benga, wrote a public letter to the state governor and the House of Assembly to please suspend, his pensions, because now he has a new status. And I don't know why such things cannot have the kind of publicity to prick the conscience of some of these people who just sit back and want to pretend that, that what they're doing is right. In a very terrible economy and in a situation where we know that, the country is undergoing a lot of pressures to get our systems up and running. So they've said it, we'll watch, but they are going to start with them because they were appointed. I think it's a right step at the right direction.
All right.
Okay, Ambassador, we also would want to look into the Constitution, because we just heard from the news that the Constitution has to be adjusted towards this issue on ground. How can this be looked into, considering the fact that people are beginning to cry out about this matter on ground?
You see, we have a deficit in our selection process. And those who constitutionally are mandated to review this are the beneficiaries of these same issues. So here is a situation where you're telling a cat to protect a dry fish from a rat. That's the scenario we have here. So I'll give you another example. You know, before as the election came through, and then we had people from the opposition political parties who were all talking about how we need good governance and how things are going to be done. They got into the National Assembly. They are buying exotic cars of 40 million and all that. And they were all silent. Now, those are the people who we thought are opposition that should have raised red flags when all these, activities were ongoing in the National Assembly. But we never heard them. Are they the same people you want to go and present a situation where, a situation of this nature? No, it's not going to work. So our selection process is wrong, and we will continue to be selecting people who just think about themselves and themselves alone. Now, until we begin to identify those who have pedigree, those who we know are also successful in their various entrepreneurial activities, taking over these positions of leadership, then we can begin to have some kind of paradigm shift to our current situation that we find ourselves.
Ambassador. Travelers in a fully loaded bus from Enugu town heading to Oluwafo fell into the hands of heavily armed assailants who launched a sudden attack. Gunmen abducted all the occupants of the bus, including the driver. The driver, who preferred to remain anonymous, confirmed the incident to newsmen. He said it is dangerous to travel on the Uogo Suka Road at night. According to him, one driver, along with his passengers, was kidnapped on Friday. They were all taken captive except for the fortunate two ladies who sought refuge under the bus. Further explained that the ladies were able to evade a capture due to the rain and the late hour. Nobody has received any indication from the abductors thus far. They are filled with fear. The road has become a death trap. Reports said despite the presence of multiple military and police checkpoints along the Uogo Suka Road, it has become a notorious hotbed for kidnappers and armed robbers. Innocent travelers have fallen victim to these criminals, resulting in numerous cases of abduction for ransom.
That's another situation on our table. We usually have the situations of gunmen abducting passengers, people who are in transit. Ambassador, how do we get to solve this problem? Because it's unbecoming, the fact that our police are always on the road, and these people find their way through. How do we actually get to explain all these incidents? And because people will definitely travel, so, but with the fears on the road and with our police also on the road, at what point do we begin to look at some particular hours that people should travel? Because even if it's not in the night, these activities also take place in the daytime. How do we tackle this issue?
Yeah, one way to tackle this issue is to apply the stick and carrot approach. Now, we are having a lot of people who don't have the competency and the capacity to head certain positions in our public services. If I am the DPO of a place and I have, criminal activities practically sustained 1 or 2 times, I should be fired because otherwise I'll be considered complicit into it. The same for the military command. You have a garrison or whatever close to where you have this frequency. That person should be cautioned. The commander should be cautioned. And probably also fired as well. You see, when we begin to apply sanctions, to those who are placed with authorities, responsibilities to carry out most of these functions, then it's going to bring down these daily occurrences that we see and read about. That's one aspect. The second other aspect is that, look, we need to start thinking about engaging a lot of our youth in agriculture, in technical and vocational skills, in things that are going to take them out of this. Because when people kidnap, ransoms are being paid, and then we have counter claims about ransoms not being paid, they were chased and killed, and victims rescued. And people see these things, and they find out that they are idle. And of course, it's going to be a business that's going to be continuous. And for economic activities, we can't determine what time we should travel and what time we should not travel. I mean, how many people can afford the transport system? And then, of course, the rail system is comatose, except in certain few states where, you have that limited means of transportation. So the road transport apparently is the most available. That can also carry a large haulage of goods, either through their trailers or these buses. So we can't stop night travel because of these attacks. Because there are people there, besides the checkpoints, there are people who are paid constitutionally to take on these responsibilities. If they can't do it, look, we need to come out. It's a drastic situation, so we have to take drastic measures. When people begin to feel the pain of ineptitude, feel the pain of incompetence, then you will see that a lot of these things are going to be checkmated. But we have a situation where, things happen, and then we just talk about it, and everybody go back to sleep, and then the same scenario replays back itself again. It's not only in this Enugu axis. What about the Bayelsa axis? We're having those kind of issues close to the Outer West area. What about in the Kaduna axis? It's all over the country. People must start taking responsibilities for the positions of authority they are being placed. If we can't do that, we are going to continue to be having these issues. And so, one aspect, let people take responsibilities. The second aspect, create an enabling environment for these young people to rechannel their energy, to be engaged. And I keep saying, agriculture is one aspect that we can channel most of our youth into, and they will benefit from it, because agriculture has been proven all over the world as the best form of, for those who are looking for, for wealth, and those who are also looking for a sustainable, good lifestyle. Agriculture is it. But we seem to be talking much about those who are carrying briefcases to sell fertilizer and probably seedlings, rather than going to the center, the communities where these things are needed. There are a lot of people that are idle.
All right, thank you so much. Now, speaking of people and issues about them, Abuja traders numbering over 1,000 appeals to the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi, to stop the Acting Inspector General of Police and Urban Shelter Limited from carrying out any construction work in furtherance of the planned remodeling of the Area 7 shopping complex illegally demolished in violation of subsisting court order. Traders in a letter addressed to the AGF by the law firm of Chukuma, Machuku Ume, Traders Chronicle, they applied in the hands of the defendants, particularly Urban Shelter Limited and the Inspector General of Police, who are in consistent disobedience to subsisting court orders of the court with respect to the subject matter. The letter dated September 14, 2023, and received same day by the Registry of the AGF said the IG patent to disobedience to the orders of the FCT High Court dated December 21st, 2021 and August 24, 2023, and urged AGF to stem the ugly tide and ensure the IGP enforces these court orders. They urged the AGF to bring a complete and comprehensive new phase in the enthronement of rule of law and obedience to court orders in the country, to make that no nation or society can enjoy safety, progress, and stability where the rule of law is replaced with whim and caprices of the mighty, and court orders are disdained, disobeyed, and rubbished. They drew the attention of the drew the attention of the Attorney General Federation to the decided case law and the dangers of disobedience of court orders, including the case of Hart v. Hart 1990, LPL 1934 of the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court adopted as follows: to allow court orders to be disobeyed would be to retread the road toward anarchy. If orders of the courts can be treated with disrespect, the whole administration of justice is brought into scorn. If the remedies that the courts grant to correct wrongs can be ignored, then there will be nothing left for each person but to take the law into his own hands. Loss of respect for the court will quickly result into the destruction of our society. The traders referred to Fagbemi to previous letters to his office, and the subject matter included the one dated May 25, 2023, with the caption "Wanton disobedience of court order and brazen impunity perpetrated against over 1,000 traders at the Area 7 shopping complex, Garki, Abuja, by the Nigerian police." Well, the above letter drew the attention of the AGF to the flagrant act of disobedience to law court orders allegedly orchestrated by Urban Shelter Limited in conspiracy with the police, who provided official cover for demolishing shops at the Area 7 shopping complex with 4 billion naira worth of goods. Now, the above letter requested the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice to, in the face of the above case law, to bring to your kind attention as a chief law officer of the Federation the brazen impunity that is capable of sabotaging the rule of law and sanctity of court orders. Straight up, do you think the Attorney General of the Federation can do anything to ensure that Urban Shelter Limited and Co. obeyed, and the IG, for instance, obeyed the court order?
By the Constitution, he has that authority. Well, I mean,
prosecuting process is supposed to be from the court to the police and all of that. But if the police is the one disobeying the court orders, what do we do now?
Now, this is where I have an issue with a precedent that has already been set. Okay? Government has made it now to pick and choose what court order to obey and what not to obey. And you see, once that precedent is there, it emboldens others to want to toe that same line. Now, the next question you should ask is that, who are those that also approve these traders to be in these locations that they want to, they now want to bring down? We have issues where corruption has bastardized most of our institutions. And so when you have a new administration or a new officer coming into play, wants to probably enforce and do what is proper. But by then, you know, they would have dislocated quite a lot of people, and probably, you know, a lot of people would have lost monies that they've got from either from the bank as loans, you know, or maybe it's their retirement money, or it's a contribution money. We have a situation where most times we don't take a holistic picture of certain policies or certain decisions we want to take. And then we are now in this quagmire where even sometimes, I mean, the previous administration, the Attorney General itself, brazenly came and justified why a court order should not be. But now we said we have a new administration, and so it's probably maybe a pilot test for him. But it beats my imagination where the enforcers of law will be part of the breakers of the law. Yes, that seems to be a precedent that's been set and that is being carried over. So I sympathize with the traders, because if the Attorney General does not respond, then they will be forced to take laws into their hands and go on self-help.
We hope we don't get there, but now, another interesting conversation. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, in line with its statute as a company in allied matters arts company, execute to retirement of 3 executive vice presidents that would have been due for retirement in 2024.
Ooh.
The retired executive vice presidents are Gas, Power and Energies Abdul Kabir Ahmed, executive vice president Upstream Engineer Adokie Tomomeye, and executive vice president Downstream Adeyemi Adetunji. Now, following the decision to retire the 3, the NNPCL also announced their replacement, Olalekan Ogunleye, now appointed as the EVP Gas, Power and New Energies. He is to replace Ahmed, who had served the company in various capacities before the retirement also. EVP Upstream Tombo Moye is to be replaced by Orise Meyua Eyesan, who before now is the Chief Strategy and Sustainability Officer. Eyesan, who led the commercial negotiation and superintended over the joint entitlement models for managing the ESCs in OMLs, will now take charge as the EVP in charge of upstream. For the EVP downstream, Adetoji was replaced by Adedapo Shegun. Reports say the new appointment is part of the progress being made in the ongoing reforms of the NNPCL, as well as enable the national oil company for the position itself for global competitiveness. Now, Ambassador, you're laughing. The move will also enable the NNPC establish continuity of leadership in critical businesses, uplifting younger people to positions of authority. Findings further revealed that the move was critical as it would assist NNPC in benefiting from international best practices while consolidating its position as an international oil company. It was learned also in the report that through the appointment, NNPC would also be promoting inclusion of women into business leadership and shrink the organization to nimble size and effectiveness. But the Corporate Affairs Commission had on September 21st, 2021, completed the incorporation of NNPCL in accordance with the provisions of the Petroleum Industrial Act 2021. The PIA was signed into law by former President Mohamed Buhari on 16th August and all of that. But there is a major interest here, if you may. Okay, without due process, you have retired these men. Let's not go into whether they will be paid their entitlement benefits or there will be a proper handover, or because a replacement has been named as we speak. The big question then is, if these men are to go, why is Mele Kyari still there?
Yeah. That's where I wanted to start from.
Yeah. If this is about bringing in young people, shrinking the size, Mele Kyari served under Buhari. Yes? And now these people, we know how they came into, they are like the officials who have been running this. So if the political appointee is not, if these men are going, why is Mele Kyari? Someone needs to help us make this make sense right now.
You see, NNPC has made itself a huge cash cow for politicians. And it's our mainstay economy, the oil and gas. And I'm surprised that the government of the day are not taking these issues of efficiency, prudent management, and high level of productivity as consideration for certain sensitive appointments. How can you have a man who's superintendent the subsidy scam seated, and then you have some of his lieutenants whose names have been mentioned in some of these subsidy scams still in place, and then you're taking out professionals who have demonstrated competency and capacity in their various the departments that they've worked. So something is going on that we have not been explained, and the speed with which they are retiring and replacing them has a red flag. And if the president wants to make sure NNPC functions properly, all he has to do is do a clean sweep of Mele Kyari and his management team, and then bring in new sets of people who have demonstrated competence and capacity and also produce results. Because right now, the set of, from Mele Kyari and the set of people we have not been able to prove that they can manage NNPC Limited. And so for me, it's even a shock, some of the names I've seen there, because these are people who have who are professionals that have successfully managed the different divisions they've been placed on. So it's an issue that has to be revisited, either by the president or even the National Assembly. Because we can't have the only mainstay of economy being put into a political fora. Because what I see there is being outplayed is politics and not the national interest that should benefit the entire country. That's my take on it.
And then to talk about their tenure in office, and one would also wonder why they wouldn't be allowed to finish their tenure in office, because that's there is a new government in place, I feel it doesn't really support. It's not supposed to really affect these officials, finishing their tenure in office. Is that correct, sir?
Absolutely correct. Because these are not political appointments, for crying out loud. These are professionals.
True.
These are professionals. And if they are tenured, they should go. Medical tenure has also expired. What is he still doing there? And then some of his key management that have been very inept in managing our oil and gas, what are they still doing there? And these are not political appointments. These are professionals who have, some of them have gone through the entire processes and gotten to where they are. And this is real vexation, for crying out loud.
And to add to this, what you rightfully should, adjudge to be vexatious is this: the idea that you want to bring in young people to fit into the mold and now nimble the size of the NNPCL. That's okay. We're not going to question that. Can the government of Nigeria, be led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, begin to explain to us, if they may, for instance, why would you be taking out professionals whom you should say, okay, you're living in 2024. This is the period. These are the people, your replacement. Begin to hand over transit in a way that everything you have garnered all through, they can come in so that they will not be space. And suddenly you pull them off even when it's not due. How much of this is about restructuring and ensuring that the NNPCL works effectively?
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate that we're having this kind of situation playing out within this period where we have issues of massive corruption, ineptitude, and loss of confidence in the current management team of NNPC. And so, as the Minister of Petroleum and President of the country, his intervention is required. In fact, these are people that, based on their antecedent, should even be reconsidered maybe as consultants or contractors if their tenure expires in 2024, and not to be removed in such an inglorious way with replacement. Who are they coming to? Who are those that are coming to replace them? How long? I mean, what's those people's pedigree? I mean, we should stop playing politics with every situation. The oil and gas is a core professional sector and the only mainstay right now, whether we like it or not. And so we can't afford to be playing around with it.
Now, let's just wrap up from this angle. The consistent actions in audaciousness, in impunity, disregarding due process, disregarding the rule of law. We just talked about Abuja traders, how they are saying there is need for the government to, respect the rule of law. Here we are again in one of the biggest enterprises that we should not be having such conversation, where due process should be followed. We're seeing the government again take action without recourse to its impact in the system and of course in the economy. Now let's talk about the rights of these gentlemen to stay till their tenure elapses. At this point, looking at what has played out, is it safe for them to go to court and demand for the necessary to be done if they are meant to be living by 2024?
Absolutely, because the NNPC is guided by laws and regulations, and it's well spelled out whether they transit into a limited or not, which the MD himself, the current MD, is also being affected. How did he transit from NNPC to NNPC Limited? How did he get his mandate? There are guidelines.
You also remember that this was also a similar case, that the Ararume case, where he had to go to court and then the court now has said they should give him whatever he's asking for. So now, which is Nigeria's money, and not even President Muhammad Buhari and whoever did the money to whoever did that. Here we are again, this system being used against the Nigerian people. Will there ever be an end to this?
I don't see that ending because, it's one of the cash cows for the politicians in this country. And the power game that is ongoing there, we'll soon get to know about it much later, because these gentlemen have the right to go to court, and enforce their fundamental rights that this sudden retirement, when they have just barely about a year to go, was unnecessary. And don't forget also, they need to have a succession plan. If these people know that they're leaving next year, they need to bring in their subordinates or whoever that seems to have certain competence and capacity within those divisions that they are, and begin to have a proper handing over. And not this military style, you are asked to go and somebody is already replacing you. It speaks volume that there is something ongoing in this NMPC that, the government and our critical stakeholders of Nigeria should start taking interest and pay attention to.
And why is even going on now at the heat of revelations on oil thefts and what is going on, and when people are demanding for accountability from the NNPCL, and people are demanding, remember the Afri-Exim Bank of Egypt, when the Idol Youth Council just came out over the weekend to say, hey, how do you explain? Yes, you explain to us what crude you have about 400,000 liters. What crude are you going to? In the midst of all of these questions that people are raising, how disturbing is it that such people, such men are being wheeled off in the middle of all of this?
Kyari presided over a dead refineries, presided over scam subsidy, presided over this massive stealing of crude oil, and it's still there. And then here we are talking about professionals. In fact, I understood that one of the men that have been asked to leave was also transferred to Port Harcourt Refinery to oversee how they can fast-track the maintenance process and get it up and running. Probably this December they are talking about. And the man is here also being removed.
Yes, so how realistic is the Buhari? I keep going to Buhari.
They're all the same.
How realistic is the Tinubu
They're all the same, for crying out loud.
If you say that, exactly, you want to get the Port Harcourt refinery to be up and running by December, and the men who should ensure that, especially in this period of subsidy removal and trying to mitigate the situation, ensuring that the system runs properly, the men who should use their experience to cement and balance the system, you're pulling them off and talking about bringing younger people and women. Is that what we need at this point?
Look, if they want to play politics, they should go and join the political parties and leave that professional organization that is globally recognized and are also regulating the international organizations that are involved in exploration, production, and drilling. We don't need politicians in NNPC. We need professionals so that they'll be able to regulate Chevron, Shell, Agip, Total, and the rest of them, and be able to get our refineries back, be able to get a lot of activities that we're talking about back on stream. This is a red flag, and this is not a good sign. And we're talking about foreign investors coming in. How do you get foreign investors in the oil and gas sector, and you have this kind of negative vibes coming out of it?
Or maybe he's trying to get more professionals, people who are more professional than the three of them we have on ground. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he wants to do something they have not been able to accomplish.
Look, if you Google the NNPC website and find out the backgrounds of all these individuals, you track their processes. And you'll be able to know those who have. I was in the industry over 20-something years.
How do you remove your key players?
This is ridiculous.
At a point when you're going through a restructuring of the process to ensure you provide better services? How much sense does this even make?
No, it's. I think there's a lot more than meets the eye in what is ongoing right now. And then I think we need to dig deeper.
All right.
They told us about Dangote, and this man was there when they commissioned Dangote, and Dangote has not started with the dates that were given.
But Dangote, this is September.
I mean, what is going on in this country?
Nigeria, where we are going to have no idea. From the court disobedience to court orders has become a norm in this country, where the court itself seemed helpless, not knowing where to go, what to do, because those who should implement the laws are the ones who are busy disobeying the laws. And now, with all kinds of shoddiness around the governance and oil, crude, and what have you, and listening to the early retirement of the men who should be driving the process of subsidy removal, ensuring our system works, but we should be begging them to even stay longer to ensure their expertise can come on board I don't know where we are going, but just want to say a very big thank you to you, Ambassador, Honorable Ambassador Ernest T. Roland Douglas, for being part of the show this morning.
It's my pleasure always, and I hope that we have better time to discuss this issue, because this is our mainstay.
Yeah,
we can't afford to
we'll have you back
put them into a political field where we will mess up every other thing that we have messed up before this time. Thank you.
God help us. And that's been our show, everyone. And I hope you've met Mr. Bestseller.
It's been a one.
We'll come back here at 10 a.m. for open conversations. Stay with us. Now, if you miss any part of the conversation, not to worry. Our shows are streamed live on all our platforms, not just on StarTimes. So you can watch us on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv, or you can download the app if you don't have that already, Atlantic ATN Live from the App Store. You can also go to our Facebook and YouTube page, Atlantic Television Network, and catch up all the shows, all the details of what we discussed today, and we look forward to hearing from you. And you can also follow us on other platforms, on TikTok and Instagram, Atlantic Network, Atlantic Network on. And then we have on X, we are Atlantic TV Net. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Enjoy the rest of your day.